Great, fine, thank you.
Dandavats, dear devotees, Dandavats. We are really honored to have all of you here today, and even very, very honored and touched to have our beloved Sripad Devashis Prabhu flying from London to give him his gracious association to us. And we have so many requests for classes. We say, can you do this again? Can you do this again? So we're going to have several opportunities to hear from Devashish Prabhu. I encourage everybody to check the schedule or the shadow, if you prefer. But I will be happy to pass the microphone for Devashish Prabhu. And please accept our dandavats and are really big thankful for all the big journey you did to help us here with our little Shri Govinda Mela that only happens because you're here. Dandavats, Devashish Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Is that okay? Can everyone hear? All right. So, yes, thank you for that introduction. It's much more than I deserve. I'm actually feeling very privileged to be here with you all. And you're giving me inspiration for continuing in Krishna consciousness. This is natural that we all feel encouraged when we see our God brothers and sisters progressing in spiritual life, and because it makes that the truth of spiritual life more valid. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, the peculiarity of Krishna consciousness is that you cannot detect it in yourself. You can only see it in others. And he would say, and if you think you see it in yourself, then that means you're very far away from it. So, it is true that, in my case at least, I'm very far away from real Krishna consciousness. And even today, I marvel at how it's possible that I became a disciple of Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. It wasn't even that I was looking for that. I just ended up there at his lotus feet, and somehow he gave me his shelter and accepted me as his disciple. So once one of the devotees said, it's the duty of the disciple to repay the spiritual master. And Guru Maharaj said, I disagree with you on that, because it's not even at all possible for a disciple to ever repay his spiritual master. It's impossible. It's not even something you can attempt to do, because it's so far and away removed from reality. So who we are, where we are going, what we are meant to be, all of these things, spiritual seekers' questions, they're very necessary in the devotee if he wants to make progress in spiritual life. These are like fundamental things that we hear in the beginning of our journey. But to come to the lotus feet of a Param Uttamadhikari Vaishnava like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that is a very rare thing. And we have to consider that, the greatest preacher of Krishna consciousness in the modern age, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he considered, and as it's written in his biography, that Guru Maharaj, meaning Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Krishna liked that Sridhar Maharaj would prepare me for my mission. So he considered that. Srila Prabhupada considered that Sridhar Maharaj trained him for his monumental journey to the United States and then to all over the world to preach and spread Krishna consciousness. And when he had some success in that field, he returned to India, and the first place he wanted to go was our Guru Maharaj's ashram to give his report to him. So then what to speak of us? If we want real Krishna consciousness, then is it not entirely appropriate that we should go to the source of that? And of course you may say, well, you're Sridhar Maharaj's disciple, naturally you're going to think in that way, but I can say that I think if we examine in an unbiased way, we can understand that Srila Sridhar Maharaj is actually the greatest living Vaishnava of his time, at that time. And he himself said, I was born to preach Krishna consciousness in the English-speaking world. And we can see from his books, there's so many books of his, from his English talks, that his style of presenting Krishna consciousness is not only simple and beautiful, but it draws the heart. And Guru Maharaj had a very wonderful way of being able to explain very high concepts in a very simple and accessible way. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said it was only when the Western devotees came to Guru Maharaj that he began to share his treasure with the world. Gurudev said, in India our tradition is this, that once you take initiation from a guru, that's it, the question's already answered. That's when you come for initiation, when all your questions have been answered. So it was just expected of us, okay, now we've accepted our guru, now we just serve. That's what we do. And not so much questions. And he said Guru Maharaj didn't even give much time for studying the scripture or anything of that kind. But Gurudev said, but of course my position was a little different because I was Guru Maharaj's personal servitor, and we must not forget that Srila Sridhar Maharaj had selected Govinda Maharaj to be his successor within 1 week of him coming to his lotus feet in 1947. And the year after that, he had that enshrined in his last will and testament, and although he changed his will many times over the years after that, that part that Srila Govinda Maharaj would be his successor, he never changed that. So we can say, for over 40 years, he trained Srila Govinda Maharaj to be his successor. And I told him once, oh Maharaj, Guru Maharaj gave you everything. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, yes, Prabhu, that is my blessing and also my curse. So actually, I don't see them as being separate, although they are, of course, different persons with different personalities. Srila Govinda Maharaj, his whole, you can say, preaching mission was to give Guru Maharaj's conception of Krishna consciousness to the world. So it isn't that Srila Govinda Maharaj ever spoke one word that was not in consonance with the teaching of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We could say, and I think it's not wrong to say, that he made that even more accessible to us than Srila Guru Maharaj himself. In fact, I said to Srila Govinda Maharaj once, oh Maharaj, I wish I could have come here when Guru Maharaj was younger and he was going out for preaching and all of these things. I wish I could have witnessed that. And Srila Gurudev just laughed at me and he said, no, Prabhu, you would not have been able to stay. And I said, why, Maharaj? And he said, Guru Maharaj was like so strict. He said, I can count on one hand those who could actually tolerate to live with him. And he said, and I was one of those. And he said, and if we did anything wrong, Guru Maharaj, sometimes he's beating us. and like heavily beating us. And no one can tolerate that. But I tolerated that, and I stayed. So it's true, when we came to Srila Guru Maharaj, it was at the, he was in his benevolent grandfather stage that he wanted to, gently give what he had to us, the fallen souls that had come to him. But the point is that Srila Govinda Maharaj was making was that also that when the Western devotees came, they were just rammed to the gills with questions. They had so many questions. Then Srila Govinda Maharaj said that's when Guru Maharaj's wealth came out. When the Western devotees came and they're asking question after question after question, and these things would come out of Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj was sometimes a little reluctant to give time to us. But Srila Govinda Maharaj would persuade him. Oh Maharaj, they've come from so far. You just come and sit with them for 5 minutes. Even if you don't say anything, just come and sit with them 5 minutes, and they'll be happy. They've come from all over the world to see you. Then Guru Maharaj, okay. Then he'd come there, and he would sit, and then naturally he would say, does anyone have a question? And then some question would come. And quite often, and at least my experience was that quite often the answer that Guru Maharaj would give was almost not related to the question. It was that was just like a springboard from which he wanted to begin his talk. And then so that 5 minutes became an hour or 2 hours when he's speaking, and sometimes he'd become overcome with what was flowing from him. And even sometimes he would have to check himself, and he would say, oh, such high things from such a low mouth. But irresistibly these things were coming, and as a result of that we have so many volumes of books of his teaching, and there's still so much unpublished recordings of Guru Maharaj to make so many more books, actually. But what we have, we can read those books again and again. Not just, oh yeah, I've read that book and now it's on my shelf gathering dust. No, we should just read those books again and again and again. Srila Govinda Maharaj said, one thing that Guru Maharaj used to say to us many times, I couldn't catch what it was. I couldn't catch the meaning. But when I read it in Golden Volcano, that he expressed that in English, then I could understand. So Guru Maharaj, as I mentioned, he said I was born to preach in the English language, and we can see that was the case. He was you can say, more than just a wordsmith, but the words were very important to him. He was always looking, what is the right word? And he wants to express it as perfectly as he can. For example, when he was looking to give the English equivalent of Bhav and Kanti, describing Srimati Radharani, and then he's thinking, what does Bhav mean? And some people were saying emotion, or feeling, or this or that. And then Kanti, what does that mean? Is that, it'd say like effulgence, and then finally Guru Maharaj settled on heart and halo. So that for him, that was the perfect meaning of Bhav and Kanti. That Srimati Radharani, her Bhav and her Kanti have been are covering Krishna Chandra, Shama Sundar, so that Shama Sundar now is Gaura Sundar. That black boy has been covered by the golden heart and halo of Srimati Radharani. In this way, so many expressions he would give. And of course, it's not just what I say about Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that is really not so important, but his own Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was speaking to an assembly of devotees. He was recounting which devotees were present at a particular meeting. And so he's telling, oh, this person was there, that person was there. And then he said, and Shastra Nipuna Sridhar Maharaj, he was there. And Shastra Nipuna means like a genius of scripture. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered Sridhar Maharaj as a genius of scripture. So, and of course, Guru Maharaj said, I think the key to his affection for me was when I composed the Bhaktivinoda Viraha Dasakam, prayers in separation of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And when Saraswati Thakur read that, he said, first of all he said, oh, it is written in a very happy style. But what was expressed there so impressed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati that he remarked afterwards, so now I am confident that if I leave the world, what I came to give is represented perfectly in this person, Sridhar Maharaj. He can represent my message perfectly. And also he said, when he was reading, who composed this? He said, Sridhar Maharaj. And he said, no. Bhaktivinoda Thakur composed this himself through Sridhar Maharaj. So already we can understand how qualified he was. In fact, at the day of his initiation, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, he quoted the verse from Bhagavad Gita, whatever a great man does, lesser men follow in his footsteps. And he had much confidence in Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj's name previous from his family was Ramendra Chandra Bhattacharya. And at the time of initiation, Saraswati Thakur changed his name to Ramendra Sundar. And he asked Saraswati Thakur, in your conception, what is the meaning of Ramendra Sundar? And he said, this is Krishna's name. Generally, when we hear Ramendra, we think of Dasarati Ram. But he said, no, this is, the meaning is Krishna, Radha Ramana Ram, Ramendra Sundar, who is beautiful. So, and of course we know Guru Maharaj had a very special affection for this Sundar, phrase Sundar. He called his deity Govinda Sundar, and he called his most beloved disciple Bhakti Sundar, Govinda. So, later on he wanted to discover the place where Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the famous conversation recorded in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Ramananda Samvad, on the banks of the Godavari River in southern India. Then he sent Guru Maharaj to go and uncover that place. And the day that he was to leave, Saraswati Thakur told him, from this day on, your name is Ramananda Das. So you can see in Guru Maharaj's Prapanna Jivanamritam, he signs it off at the end, that lowly servant Ramananda Das. And of course Guru Maharaj found that place, and he made sure that it was authentic by historical records and with the local people there. And then Saraswati Thakur came there and installed the footprints of Mahaprabhu there. And then after that, there was formed the Ramananda Gaudiya Mott. And that mott is still there today. You can still go there if you want to see that place. So, then we hear also when Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, he came to see Guru Maharaj in one conversation, and they had many conversations. But in one conversation, he begins that conversation. He said, Guru Maharaj, meaning Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told me, in the future, Sridhar Maharaj will save our Krishna consciousness. And Guru Maharaj said, he said that? He He said, yes, he said that. So, it was almost like setting the scene. And independent of anything, we can understand that Guru Maharaj, of all of the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, more or less all of the senior disciples of Saraswati Thakur, they considered that Sridhar Maharaj was legitimately his successor, and they would come to hear from him. When they would say, when we hear from you, we hear the voice of Prabhupada coming through you. So what you say, we want to know that. Then so many examples of that. Recognition of Srila Guru Maharaj's authority. In fact, when I came to Guru Maharaj, maybe I'd been there a few years, and that time, all the now existing branches of the Gaudiya Math, they asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, will you be the head of the Gaudiya Math? And Guru Maharaj said, if it will be for the service of Guru Maharaj, I accept. So then I was young, 21 or so, 22 maybe, at that time. And it was my hobby, I say hobby, to collect. I was trying to collect books. Any kind of book, especially in English, I'd go, someone told me, there are some copies of this book at this mart. So I'd go to that mart and try and buy those copies and so on. Then I went to one mart near to the Kalighat temple in Calcutta. And there they had some few rare books there, which I was able to get. And then there was a sannyasi there. His name was Sadhu Maharaj. He was visiting from Madras. And in the Madras Gaudiya Math, one of their sannyasis, he'd published their English edition, or the first edition of Srimad Bhagavatam in English. So, and this Sadhu Maharaj, he was the publisher. So you have like the person who wrote it, or and then the person that publishes it. Like many of our books in the time of Guru Maharaj, you'll see the publisher is Haricharan Brahmachari. So this was Sadhu Maharaj. He was attributed as the publisher. So he wants to ask me some questions. Where are you from? What do you do? He says, oh, I'm from England. He said, so I'm dressed like, he said, you don't dress like that, obviously, in England, right? It's very cold there, I said, yeah, we dress like this, yeah. When we're at the temple, and he says, but I think you have to have a little wine to keep the blood warm, yeah? And I said, no, we don't do that. And he said, maybe some meat, you have to take some meat. And he's asking me like these kind of questions. No, we don't do that. Then he says, so who's disciple, who's in charge in London? I said, his name is such and such Maharaj. Whose disciple is he? He's Swami Maharaj's disciple, first and second, and sannyas from Sridhar Maharaj. And he says, and you? I said, I'm a disciple of Sridhar Maharaj. He says, first and second? Yes. Oh, then you are more fortunate, he says. He just wants to make some kind of dig to Prabhupada, So anyway, he gives me, and he asked me some questions about some of the points in Prabhupada's Krishna book, actually, and he's trying to trap me into saying something wrong. And I told him what I understood, and he said, yes, that's correct. And he said, so why is that Swami Maharaj written this, blah, 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 in there? And I said, listen, whatever I know about this subject, this from reading his books. I didn't hear that from anybody else. I heard it from his books. And he's like, oh, okay. And I said, so maybe you read it wrong, Anyway, so he gives me the copy, first issue of their Srimad Bhagavatam, and I was on the train going back to Navadvip, and I'm reading it, right? And then there's like a 10-page introduction there, and all of that 10 page is just one criticism after another of Srila Prabhupada's translation. And I won't even tell you what it said, but it was, by the time I got back to the mott in Navadvip, there were like flames coming out of my head. I was feeling so angry, and I just rushed upstairs, and Guru Maharaj was sitting there having some massage, and I blurted out, "Oh, I got this book," and I told him everything, what I read in the book. And he said, "Oh, they say I am the head of the Gaudiya Mott." And he said, so then he told Haritran, "Go to Calcutta and summon that man here, that Sadhu Maharaj, make him come here." So he did. I was like, that was my last sort of part of that. But the very next day, Haritran Prabhu came back with this sannyasi, like, kind of coming back thinking, I don't know what he was thinking, but anyway, Guru Maharaj, I wasn't privy to the conversation they had, but Guru Maharaj ordered them to withdraw every single copy of that book that they'd published. And he said, if you write that again, that has to be omitted. It's never acceptable to have publish a book from a mission that criticizes another Vaishnava. So anyway, Guru Maharaj gave some chastisement to them, and they did withdraw all of those books and republish them without that in it. Anyhow, so even in his last years, Guru Maharaj was presenting his conception about Krishna consciousness, and it just comes to my mind near to that same place in Calcutta, the Kalighat temple. Actually, Bhakti Doita Madhav Maharaj, his mott was close by there. And sometimes, and Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, he would stay at that mott when he was in Calcutta. And sometimes Guru Maharaj would send me with a letter there. I never knew what was in the letters or anything. I was just the courier, but I would go there. Sometimes I would stay at Madhav Maharaj's mott. Anyway, this one day I have a letter for Puri Maharaj and a letter for our accountant, the accountant of Chaitanya Saraswat Mott. His house was nearby there, and he was an elderly gentleman, and he was a businessman, and he would do business from his bed, this big bed, and with banks of telephones all around the bed. And he'd just be on the telephone making some business deals and so on, and in the meantime, he used to do the accounts for the temple. So he was a disciple of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So I give him the letter and everything, and I come back, and he had a response for me to bring. So when I came back to Guru Maharaj says to me, "Oh, that house used to belong to such and such family." He's telling a little history about the house where our accountant lives. And he said, "I went there once with Prabhupada," meaning Saraswati Thakur. I went there and he gave a lecture there. And it was a very brilliant lecture. And he said, it was just he and I there, and he said, I wanted to write it down, what the lecture was. So I'm scrambling, trying to find a pen and paper or a pencil and paper. Can't find one anywhere. So after the lecture, Guru Maharaj says, he said to me, "Did you write any of that down?" And Guru Maharaj says, "No, I didn't." And he said, "Oh, then you are Gubar Ganesh." So, Gubar Ganesh means a Ganesh made of cow dung. So Ganesh is meant to be the scribe, right, of Vyasadeva. So, but one made out of cow dung, that's like no use to anybody, right? So, oh, you're Gubar Ganesh. And he said, because I said some things in that lecture that I've never knew before, and I wanted to remember what those things were. And you weren't able to do that. Anyway, so Guru Maharaj was laughing about that and telling that story. So when Guru Maharaj came to live in Navadvip, alone in Navadvip, his idea originally was just find some place and do my bhajan for the rest of my life. And then, of course, we all know that he thought, I have to go and get permission from Nityananda Prabhu, the Dharmeshwara, if I want to live in Navadvip. So going to Eka Chakra, Eka Tirtha, he went there, excuse me, and bowing down before Nityananda Prabhu, he asked, you please give me permission that I can spend my last days here. And this feeling, you can say, or you can also say, Nityananda Prabhu directly communicated to Guru Maharaj that you are telling that I am Patita Pavan, but you don't want to give any of your grace to the Patita, to the people. You're telling I'm the savior of the fallen, but you have so much wealth, but you don't have any desire to share that with the fallen souls. Then how I can give you permission to live in Navadvip? So then Guru Maharaj understood, I have to modify my idea. So he said, then I decided I'll stay in Navadvip, and if anyone comes for my help or spiritual guidance, I must give that to them. And otherwise I'm not going to go out, like searching for that or anything. So then that's what happened. He was staying in like a small rented apartment. His brother, Guru Maharaj had two brothers, and one of his brother was a superintendent on the railway, which is like a very good job in those days. And he said, he would give me 3 rupees a month. And with those 3 rupees, I managed to rent this apartment and live on 3 rupees. So, 3 rupees was worth a lot more than it is today. Anyway, while he was there, one of his godbrothers, bumped into him in the street. Oh, this is where you are. We've all been looking for you. We didn't know where you were. We've all been looking for you. Guru Maharaj, yes, is so. So anyway, then his godbrothers, they're searching him out. And one of his godbrothers, Sakhicharan Rai, he was a salt merchant from Calcutta, and he at the time of partition, he'd come from Bangladesh to Calcutta, and he had a job with a British salt merchant. There were a lot of British people there after the Raj. So this British man had a salt company in Calcutta, and Sakhicharan Rai was like his assistant, kind of his right-hand man. Then that man, he says, okay, I want to return to England, and so I'm going to sell the business, but I want to sell it to you. I want to sell the business to you. And Sakhicharan said, well, I don't have any money, I can't buy it from you. And he said, no, my proposal is that I'll give you the business now, and in 3 years' time you give me my asking price. So it was written up by the lawyers, it was agreed. He took over that business, and then he became very, very, very wealthy. And in fact, he was he used to keep like a pot on his desk in his office, and anyone would come to do business with him, he would say, first put some money in this pot for the service of my Guru Maharaj, then we can talk business. Well, then they would put some money like this. Anyway, so he became so wealthy that he was the main financial backer of the Chaitanya Mott in Mayapur. He paid for that construction of that, more or less. And he was very friendly with Guru Maharaj. And in fact, Srila Govinda Maharaj said that Sakhicharan Rai, his wife, was a super excellent cook. And he said, and many times I would go with Guru Maharaj to his house in Calcutta. He had a house with very nice grounds and everything there, and they would have some festival there. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, his wife, she could cook so wonderfully that I would always overeat when I would go there. And he would describe the dishes that she would make. Like 40 years later, he's telling us what she made at this festival, and we were just like drooling, hearing the description of that from Gurudev. And he said, so this day I was like, ate so much that my stomach was giving me so much pain. Then he said, after prasadam, they gave Guru Maharaj a room that he could take rest in, and he, Sakhicharan, he had his own room, and he went there to take rest. Govinda Maharaj said, I know that on his dressing table he keeps some Ayurvedic indigestion tablets. So he said, I've got to get one of those indigestion tablets. So as soon as he knew that Sakhicharan was asleep, he sneaked into his room, and he's crawling across the floor on all fours. And suddenly Sakhicharan kind of half wakes and he says, "Ke?" Like, who is it? And he had a young son, and so Gurudev said, "Ami Madhav." And he turned over and went back to sleep. Then Gurudev stole a Ayurvedic tablet, took that. Anyway, that Sakhicharan Rai, he came to Guru Maharaj in Navadvip, and he said, "Maharaj, choose some place, some land, and I'll purchase that for you." And so Guru Maharaj chose where Chaitanya Saraswat Math is today, and that was bought for him by that Sakhicharan Prabhu. So that was, how the mott began there. Then, it was very rustic, you can say, simple. Guru Maharaj said, "I'm just living in a thatched hut, and in the roof of the hut there's a cobra living there." And he said, "He's not bothering me, I'm not bothering him. We're happily coexisting." Excuse me. And anyway, gradually, the devotees came, found Guru Maharaj, and some came to stay with him, some for a long time, some for a short time, some forever. Then gradually the mott began to grow, and of course then Srila Govinda Maharaj came to him in 1947, and from then the mott really began to take shape. And during that time, then Guru Maharaj, he said, Gurudev told us, Guru Maharaj bought this big bamboo pole, and on that bamboo pole he raised a flag, and composed a verse, Srimad Chaitanya Saraswata, and so, on the back of Gita, or the first Gita, and so, and in praise of the flag flies high above the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, broadcasting the message of Mahaprabhu all over the world, and like this, and So then Sakhicharan Rai, Ram Gopal Vijayabhushan, who was another friend of Guru Maharaj, he said, like a thatched hut and a big bamboo pole and a big shloka. But what is this? Like a little hut. And Guru Maharaj said, "In the future you will see what will be." And okay, now we know that the glories of Chaitanya Saraswat Math, they flow all over the world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, previously he'd written, maybe in Chaitanya Shikshamritam, a prediction. And in that prediction he says, "The day will come when all intelligent men and women of the world must accept the religion of love as given by Sri Chaitanya Dev to be the only solution to all the problems of the world. And all other religious conceptions, they'll disappear, and only Mahaprabhu's conception will remain." And also there he says, "And the day will come when the fair-skinned European, American, Russian people from all over the world, they'll join with the devotees of Bengal, going from one place to another of the where Mahaprabhu had his pastimes with their arms raised, chanting, Jai Sachinandana, Jai Sachinandana. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, when I read that, I thought, yes, of course, if Bhaktivinoda Thakur says it must come true. He said, but not in my lifetime. And then he said, but now I see that already that's coming true. And we're all, not only we're witness to that, we're part of that. So, then, but I think, and maybe, you may think it's a foolish thing to say, but I believe that integral to the fulfillment of that prophecy is the exposure of those intelligent men and women of the world to the teachings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. His presentation of Krishna consciousness. It's not rote, it's not just, repetition of something. Srila Guru Maharaj himself saying about when he heard Saraswati Thakur speaking, he said, my feeling was, this isn't just somebody vomiting what he's read from a book. This is real. This is real life. Then that's how we feel of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. As Srila Govinda Maharaj said, one word from Guru Maharaj is enough to make us his slave forever. Then I really believe that, if people can come to appreciate the conception of Krishna consciousness, Mahaprabhu's religion of love, through the lens, if you like, of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's presentation, their hearts will be captured, and that charming proposal that Guru Maharaj is giving will become more and more prevalent in the world. And I believe that he is the greatest exponent of Krishna consciousness in the modern world, and what he is given is also of a similar caliber. His revelation of Brahma Gayatri Mantra, his explanation of Brahma Gayatri Mantra, you will not find that anywhere else. Guru Maharaj said, I heard that Jiva Goswami had given something similar, and I looked, but I could not find it. So, and really, this is it is a revelation of the meaning of Gayatri Mantra, and it is totally logical if you think about it. I read this even recently in the last few years on a Vaishnava website of a sister organization. They're making some like online Bhakti Shastri course, and one of the questions on their courses, what is the meaning of the Brahma Gayatri Mantra? Answer: worship of the sun god. Then, so Guru Maharaj says, of course it says, the Surya is given in the word there. So but Guru Maharaj says it cannot be that, because it must be in the line of Srimad Bhagavatam, and so Guru Maharaj, as we know, he gives the explanation that Surya means the sun, but meaning the soul. That the soul is that which illuminates the world, not the sun, but the soul. Because without the soul, there is no sun. You can't see the sun if there's no soul to see the sun. Anyway, we know it's a much more poetic and beautiful explanation. But it is the perfect explanation, and it has never been given in the world of theism before. So then that in itself is an extraordinary thing. And what to speak of Guru Maharaj's original writings, like Premadharma Deva Stotram. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the form of a poem. And it flowed from the holy pen of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj said it started out as an astakam, 8 verses, then it became a dasakam, then a dwadasakam, and in the end over like 70 verses. So, and giving the whole gist of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, and in a very beautiful poetic style. And of course, not to forget, Guru Maharaj's, you can say, magnus opus, I guess you could say, his Prapanna Jivanamritam, which is not just a compilation of verses about surrender. Is not that. In fact, the real essence of the book, if you forgive the expression, the real meat of the book, are Guru Maharaj's original aphorisms, explaining Sharanagati. And the first person who tried to translate that into English, he thought, oh, that's just all repetition, and eliminated all of Guru Maharaj's original part and just kept all the scriptural verses. That's that, and it just like it isn't the book. Those verses, and it's important for us to understand this because it gives us a better perspective on how we should study this book. That those aphorisms that Guru Maharaj has given, that's the book. And all those verses from the scripture, they're just proof of what Guru Maharaj is saying. They're what substantiate what Guru Maharaj is saying. They're supporting that, yeah. But what Guru Maharaj says, that's the actual essence of that book. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said, not just a book, but a goddess that has come from manifested from Guru Maharaj's pen. And Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, he recognized that, encouraging his sister to pay for the first publishing of that in Bengali. So many things that Guru Maharaj composed, and so many things that he taught to Srila Govinda Maharaj over the years. And I can say, that although I'm initiated by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, my real understanding of Srila Sridhar Maharaj is due to my association with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Had a kind of a superficial relationship with Guru Maharaj in a way, and after initiation I would stay with him like every year, sometimes for a few weeks, sometimes for a few months. And one year I stayed there like 6 months, and every day I'm coming to see Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj, oh, Devashis Prabhu, did you take prasadam? Today you have prasadam at Anuradha Bhavan, and he would ask Anuradha, who was Guru Maharaj's secretary's wife, you cook something for Devashis Prabhu today, and like this, Then when I left there after 6 months, I'm kind of thinking, oh yeah, I'm like an intimate disciple of Guru Maharaj. Then I went back to London. And doing whatever I was doing there. And then the year later, I came back. I'm all excited to see Guru Maharaj when I got there, and Sagar Maharaj was there. He said, oh, let's go and see Guru Maharaj. So he took me up the stairs, and he says to Guru Maharaj, Devashis Prabhu's here. And Guru Maharaj says, oh, he is Swami Maharaj's Shishya. And he said, no, Maharaj, your Shishya. He said, oh, first and second, yes, Maharaj, first and second. He's working with Goswami Maharaj, is it? He said, no, he's from London. Oh, okay, yeah, he's working like this. And I was like, oh, he doesn't remember me, like, at all. So then, this was really like doing my head in, I'm thinking, I thought, I was in there, and so then a couple of days later, Guru Maharaj is giving that talk, and he asks, any questions? And I said, what does it mean if the Guru forgets who his disciple is? Guru Maharaj didn't appreciate that question at all. He looked at me, as best as he could look at us then, and he said, "What of it?" What is necessary for him to remember, he remembers. And I just like kind of shrunk up there. In any case, then I think it was a well-deserved lesson in humility, for one thing, But we're very, very fortunate to have come in connection with him. I still today, I know it's not possible for anything to ever go awry, but there's part of me that thinks that it was some kind of big mistake that I ended up with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I joined in ISKCON. I had a guru in ISKCON, and my ISKCON guru, he came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and we also followed him there. I remember, and we came there in 1982, and I had a background in graphic design. I was studying that at university when I joined with ISKCON. So that my ISKCON guru, he knew that. So he had me design some pamphlets that he wanted to publish, and I was in Calcutta getting these pamphlets, 2 pamphlets published. And so one night after the publisher had given us the first proofs off the press, I grabbed them and I jumped on the train to go to Navadvip to show them to my guru, see what he thought about that. And when I arrived, it was late, near to midnight. I got the last train, but he was still up. He was staying in the room which was usually Krishna Sharan Prabhu's room, Aranya Maharaj's room. And so I went in, and some associates of his were there. Anyway, we're looking over these proofs, and he's making some corrections and giving some. Gradually, they all drifted away, and so it was just he and I in the room there. And then he kind of suddenly became very serious, and he took my hands and he looked in my eye and he said, "Prabhu, I just want to tell you that I'm a crazy man, and tomorrow I could just run off with some woman. But Sridhar Maharaj, he's the real thing. And now you've come to the feet of Sridhar Maharaj. I want you to promise me that you'll stay at his lotus feet." I said, "Yes, Gurudev, of course." And he said, No, I'm being very serious. You please promise me that." I said, "Okay." I thought, he's just being humble. And no doubt he was. But anyway, later on, we found out that he was not following strictly the line of Mahaprabhu's line. And of course, when that came, then that recollection came to me. Stay at the lotus feet of Sridhar Maharaj. And so there was a big confusion with everyone. But the few of us, and not many I have to say, but a few of us, what would Srila Sridhar Maharaj say? What does he say about this? So we contacted Guru Maharaj, and a letter came back to us and basically said, you should think that he has fallen down because he's accepted nonsense disciples like you. So, and not to be scornful or to put any blame on him. And if, he said, just like Mahaprabhu, he didn't recognize Bharati Maharaj when he came before him dressed in deerskin. He said, so now our Prabhu is wearing the deerskin of intoxication. We don't recognize him. But if he leaves that and comes back to the line of Mahaprabhu, then we must accept him again. So you should, with a penitent heart, you should wait. And in the meantime, you can worship Nityananda Prabhu as Guru. He is the general manifestation of Guru. And wait and see. And we had to wait 1 year until it was clear that that devotee wasn't coming back, then Guru Maharaj accepted us as disciples. Then, well, I don't know how that happened to me. I really don't know. You know, I didn't really have any high aspiration to get Srila Sridhar Maharaj as my guru or anything like that, but when the opportunity came, I thought there's nothing else to do except go for that, you know. And I seriously don't regret that in any way, shape or form. And we had like 6 years association with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And but he left us in the care of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And including that time with Guru Maharaj, we had like over 25 years association with Srila Govinda Maharaj. And that's a long time. That's a lifetime for some people. That's 25 years. So that's more than the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had with his association. That's more than the disciples of A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Maharaj had in his association. And it's more than the disciples of Srila Sridhar Maharaj had, more or less, Western disciples anyway. 25 years we had association of him then. And he wants to give us Guru Maharaj. His whole life, his whole mission was to extend the conception of Guru Maharaj all over the world. And he did it. He did it successfully. And he was unchallengeable in his position. Everybody accepted. Everybody knew who is he in our mission. There's no argument about it. And if someone is to ask us, and this is also important, I believe, if someone is to ask us, like, what's the Chaitanya Saraswat Mott about? You know, like, what is it? Sometimes people say, oh, you know, oh yeah, you're the Gaudiya Mott. They say, you know, like a generic member of the Gaudiya Mott. I'm no more a member of the Gaudiya Mott than you are, my friend from ISKCON. They wouldn't accept I'm a member of the Gaudiya Mott, but they are. They're in the same line as the Gaudiya Mott. There's no ISKCON without the Gaudiya Mott. But they like to say, no, we're not Gaudiya Mott, we're ISKCON. And we like to say, no, we're not Gaudiya Mott, we're Chaitanya Saraswat Mott. And there is a difference. It's not just generic Gaudiya Mott. The Chaitanya Saraswat Mott, if someone will say, well, what's all that about? What that's about is the preeminent teaching of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. And it will always be that. It won't be like what this Swami or that Swami says it is. It's the teachings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj as taken all over the world by Srila Govinda Maharaj. That's what makes Chaitanya Saraswat Mott Chaitanya Saraswat Mott. And in no way is it generic. In no way is it just popularized Krishna Bhakti. It's the real thing. They're the real thing. It's impossible for us to properly estimate who they are. And we shouldn't think, oh, you know, that was like 40 years ago or whatever it is. You know, that they're gone now. No, they're not gone. It's their mission. And they're not dead, they're not impotent, they can see everything and they can move everything as they desire. You know, then maybe we cannot see what the future is, but we understand that our future is in the shelter of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, his conception of Krishna consciousness, his presentation of Krishna consciousness, and the extended mercy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in the person of Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, who is, you know, not different from Guru Maharaj in any way, except he's a different person and has a different mood, actually, you know. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj himself, he said, he's more qualified for this chair than I am. Because Srila Govinda Maharaj, he doesn't want to let anybody go from the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj. From the very first moment that I met him, his only ambition was to bring us to the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj. And that never changed, ever. So everything that he gave is the wealth of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. He's the fit person to distribute Srila Sridhar Maharaj's teachings all over the world. And in a sense, he's much more tolerant than Guru Maharaj was. Guru Maharaj was, as I said before, in his benevolent grandfather stage, wanting to give everything to us, but there's a line with Guru Maharaj. There's a line. Sometimes you go up and he would say, "Who's there?" Such and such, and he'd say, "What do you want?" And you might say whatever you want. And he'd say, "You never come here unless somebody sends you here with some purpose." Srila Govinda Maharaj is like lying down in the bed in London. His heart's like 4 times bigger than it should be. We have to get private doctors to come in, and everybody's like running into his room like he's a pop star or something. We were lucky actually that Shruta Shrava Prabhu was often the gatekeeper. Some devotees were coming there. And Gurudev's like really ill. He's really ill. We were like worried, so worried. And these devotees come, "We just want to give Gurudev, Dandavat to Gurudev." And no, Gurudev's not accepting any visitors right now. No, we just want to go do Dandavat. Shruta Srava says, "And what will Gurudev do with your Dandavat? Will that make him well?" "No, we just want to do Dandavat." And our little temple, even when Gurudev wasn't so ill, our little temple in London, we try to fit everybody in. It's like the TARDIS from Doctor Who, like it expanded on the inside. Seriously, I mean, genuinely, there were people queuing outside in the streets to get a glimpse of Gurudev. And, everyone would come upstairs, and after an hour or so, we'd have to ask people, "You've been here an hour, can you let someone else come?" Most of the devotees would, and someone would go, "No, I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I've got here, I'm not moving." And also Gurudev, sometimes he would like to take prasadam alone, or, with just a few close friends. And but we'd try and say, Gurudev's going to take prasadam now, and everyone's just sitting there, And Gurudev not saying anything. So they're bringing his prasadam, he's taking his prasadam. We're trying to get everybody to leave, they won't leave. Then once I said to Gurudev, a little loudly so everyone could hear, "Maharaj, I think sometimes you must feel like you're a monkey in a zoo. And everybody gawping at you all the time, even when you're taking your prasad." He said, "Yes, Prabhu, that's exactly how I feel." Some people got up and left. Some people, it just washed over them. It didn't mean anything. Still staying. We're still staying. That was the difference. I mean, not the only difference, but one difference between Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. No one could come up while Guru Maharaj is taking prasadam and just sit there. It's impossible. But Srila Govinda Maharaj is like, "Yeah, bring one, bring all, like let them all come." And even when we know, nobody even, like when he's like flicking the station on the TV, just to get everybody to leave, and they're still not leaving, then some people just don't get it. But anyway, and I said to him one day, "Maharaj, why did you come? Your heart's like super big." I mean, I'm not talking about like in a spiritual way. I'm talking about physically. And they told you not to travel, didn't they? And he said, "Yes, they did." I said, "No one would have thought anything less of you if you didn't come." And he said, "Yes, but I want to die in harness," he said. "What does it matter if I die here or if I die in Navadvip? Better I die doing Guru Maharaj's service." And then he said, "Anyway, just sitting in Navadvip, it's so boring." So, That was his nature, to give of himself, and so much to give of himself, and tolerated so much from us, because he wanted for us to get Krishna consciousness. In fact, once he said to me, if I told everybody really what is Krishna consciousness, they'd all leave. He said, so I'm not telling that, because I don't want anybody to leave. And then another time he said to me, he was just going downstairs to give a lecture, and he said to me, anyone who stays in the line of Srila Guru Maharaj, they must get the service of Rupa Manjari. What do you think? He said to me. I said, what do I think? I don't even know what that means, Maharaj. I don't even know. But I do know that it's like the very highest thing that any Vaishnava can aspire for. And if you say that it's so, then I believe that it's so. Then of course the question is, what does it mean to be in the line of Srila Sridhar Maharaj? Not just that you showed up, no. But Srila Gurudev was so merciful that sometimes just that you showed up was enough. And that's our eternal fortune. And I think, if I learned anything from his association, it's that we're not dealing with an impersonal absolute, but we're dealing with a person absolute, and not just any person, but the sweetest person. And although we may be completely unqualified and maybe disqualified, if somehow or another you got the affectionate glance of Srila Govinda Maharaj, then I think you must be safe in your spiritual life. And there's nothing more you need in this world than that. The essence of Krishna consciousness is to find a devotee of Krishna and serve him. That's all. It's as simple as that. You don't need, as Srila Gurudev said, you don't need to read a Ganges full of scripture. You don't need anything of that. All you need is a simple, loving connection with the real Vaishnava. If they give their favor to you, then Krishna can't very easily ignore that. And Srila Govinda Maharaj, he was so affectionate to everybody, even those who really didn't deserve it. And he never withdrew his affection from anyone. And I heard on a recording recently, which quite surprised me, shocked me, Srila Govinda Maharaj says, who Guru Maharaj has accepted, he has no right to ever leave them. I was like, wow. Like, no matter what they do. Now, this is like a very special thing. Almost a secret thing, you can say. We don't to make that a license, to just live a nonsense life. But if we try, and I think that was his nature, was that he saw who's trying. And often, when he would come to London, often you'd see devotees who we never see from year to year come out of the woodwork, and they're sitting there right at the front. They're like the best devotee. And those devotees who are making everything happen in the background, they get like a few minutes to come and bow down in front of Gurudev and then get back to their service. Those were the devotees that Gurudev noticed. Those were the devotees who really got Gurudev's mercy. I feel that. And of course everyone got his mercy, but some more than others. And as Srila Kadidi was saying yesterday when we were speaking up at the Samadhi Mandir, Gurudev was a very mystical person. And many mystical things we saw in his company. Some very extraordinary, some almost unnoticeable, but really I don't know what kind of devotee he is. When we went to the first parikram we went to in Govardhan and Vrindavan, Gurudev took us there. We went on the train from Howrah to Mathura Junction. It's called the Tufan Express. And Tufan means like a whirlwind. It's the slowest train you ever go on your life.
Too slow.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the first parikram, Gurudev came with us on the train. Generally, he flew on that Jet Airlines, which would now fly internationally, but just used to fly internally. They gave him like lifetime free flight on there for him and like assistant. Excuse me. So subsequently he flew to Delhi and then came from Delhi. But this time he came with us on the train. So early in the morning, we're waiting at Navadvip train station. It's dark, we're all Gurudev sitting on that like concrete chair around the tree. We're all sitting on the floor around him. It was almost kind of like a scene out of, some scripture, the disciples with the Guru, the master, everything. And then Gurudev says, until this morning I didn't know if I could come with you on this journey. We're all listening. He said, all week I've been asking Srimati Radharani to give her permission, but she is not giving permission to me to go. Just this morning, just like an hour ago or something, Lalita Devi, she gave me her permission. And we were just sitting there thinking, at least I was thinking like, who is this man, Like Lalita Devi gave me her permission. Like, I didn't think anything except like, he talks with Lalita Devi and Srimati Radharani. It wasn't, I don't think it was metaphorical. I think it was completely literal. Lalita Devi gave her permission this morning, and so I'm coming with you. So many things like that, little things we heard from him. If you're a little bit attentive, and if you really had his affection, sometimes he'd tell you things that you can't even repeat. Real things. So I don't know, what our future is, but I know it's wonderful. Those who have taken shelter of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, of Srila Govinda Maharaj, then their future is guaranteed. I believe it. And Srila Guru Maharaj, he also said once, I think it was in Russia, he said, you cannot see, but I can see. You are all already liberated. You don't know it, you can't see it, but I see it. That was his mystical power. He could bring every one of us. And that was one of the wonderful things I remember hearing from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So he's telling about Vrindavan, about life with Krishna, all these things. So wonderful, painting this picture of the spiritual world. And we're all sitting there, 2 hours he's telling all these things. And we're sitting there in wonder. And then at the end, everyone's just in silence, pin drop silence. And then one lady at the back, she put her hand up. And Guru Maharaj said, yes. She said, Maharaj, can we all go there? And Guru Maharaj said, yes, of course. That I remember very well, and that gives so much hope to us. So that's my my talk about the preeminent importance of the teachings of Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. I leave it up to you to decide if I'm right or I'm wrong, but I'm also happy to take any questions if anyone has a question. I'm also happy not to take any questions.
Devashis Prabhu ki jai. Sri Govinda Mela ki
Jai.
jai.
Yes.
I was just wondering, can you speak a little bit about the Gayatri mantra, because I'm forgetting sometimes to chant it, and I wanted to know what is the consequences of that.
I'm not chanting it.
Yeah, and what is the good fortune of us, how it can help us in our progress in spiritual life.
Well, I mean, simply put, if you don't chant it, then you don't get the benefit of it. But Gurudev said, the Gayatri mantra is for meditation. Is not, he says, not for shouting, not for blasting, it's for meditation. And it will bring us in closer connection with the Guru, with our Guru and Krishna. It helps us to concentrate on our relationship with the Lord and through the Vaishnava. And Srila Guru Maharaj has explained it in Sri Guru and His Grace about how it's the circle within the circle. So it's necessary to have a little qualification to be able to chant the Gayatri mantra. So that means through, like, Harinam is everything. If you have Harinam, then you have everything. But through the chanting of the Harinam Maha Mantra, then some good quality, we think, will manifest within us. Like a little qualification. And when we have that qualification, and that's seen by our Gurudev, then we can be given the Gayatri mantra. So Gayatri, the mother of the Veda. So that means it gives you entrance into the understanding of the Vedic mantras, the Dibya Gyan. Diksha means the imparting of Dibya Gyan from the master to the disciple.
Now, which mantra are you talking about is the Gayatri mantra?
They're all Gayatri mantra.
Thank you.
Him Krishnaya Govinda.
Yes.
Because the ladies, we don't get the first mantra.
Yeah, that's the Brahmin's mantra.
Yes.
And you have to have a sacred thread to chant that mantra.
So do we get less? Are we not allowed to make as much as
Nevertheless.
No, it's
if we're doing it properly or with sincerity?
There's also some, you can say, societal consideration, cultural consideration, if you like, that Jiva Goswami, he says that only who's born in a Brahmin family, only they can accept the Gayatri mantra. But he says, but those who later, a great Mahabhagavat devotee will extend that to non-Brahmins also, those who are not born in Brahmin families, and then it will be okay. So he's saying, that this is the tradition. In the tradition, a Brahmin boy, when he reaches the age of 14, he gets given the sacred thread and the Gayatri mantra. So Saraswati Thakur, he modified that and gave that mantra to those who weren't born in Brahmin families necessarily. He himself is a Kayasta. Kayasta, coming from a Kayasta family. Kayasta is considered like a type of Shudra, actually. And Srila Guru Maharaj said that was one consideration before I took initiation from Saraswati Thakur, that I'm born in a Brahmin Bhattacharya family, high lineage, and then I can take my guru should be of a similar kind of lineage, and it's not normal or proper for me to take initiation from a kayasta. He said this was like a real consideration in my life. So, but then I could, by the grace of Krishna, I could understand that what he was giving is far and above that consideration. So then I accepted him as my guru. So that's also like one of the criticisms of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev by the Smartas, the Smarta community. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, that's my family is Smarta. My father is a Smarta. And that means like a sacerdotal Brahmin. And they consider Mahaprabhu like ruined the social fabric of India. Prior to Mahaprabhu, people of different castes, they wouldn't mix together. They wouldn't eat together. They wouldn't, when students would come to Oxford University from India, they'd have to bring their own cook with them. Brahmin cook would have to come and live with them to look, that was, and Mahaprabhu changed all that. Everyone, if you're Vaishnava, you all come together, all take prasadam together, all join together. And so the caste Brahmins, they hated that. It's something like in Europe, and especially in England, what they called the feudal system. So at that time, only those who were priests had education. They were the only ones who could read properly, So then that meant they held a very high position in society. Similarly, in India, the Brahmins, they were the learned class, and others didn't have that kind of education. So that was a kind of a power for them that they had. And Mahaprabhu was instrumental in demolishing all of that, It's Krishna consciousness for everybody. And Saraswati Thakur said, Brahmanism is a secondary consideration. And he said, but I am giving the sacred thread in the Gayatri Mantra to my disciples for two reasons. One, so that the ordinary people won't consider them less than Brahmins. And two, that those disciples themselves won't consider themselves to be less than Brahmins. So, because actually a Vaishnava is more than a Brahmin. So then he established that, and that went against the grain of society. So then in that same vein, the disciples of Saraswati Thakur, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he extended that to his Western disciples, who had no Vedic culture at all in their life. So this is something that happens by the power of a Vaishnava, a real Vaishnava. They can do that. It doesn't mean that everything that we see as being kind of deficient in Indian culture, that therefore we can rectify all of that. Mahaprabhu didn't consider that even to be necessary on large. When our god sister, and I feel really sorry for her at that time, she just joined the mission a little while. So then she went to Puri, and she was with Anuradha, who is Guru Maharaj's secretary's wife. And they're on the rickshaw outside the Jagannath temple. And she says, "Oh, you wait here. I'm going to have darshan of Jagannath." She's from Sri Lanka, right? She has an Indian body. So I'm just going to have darshan of Jagannath. You wait here on the rickshaw. I thought that was kind of mean, That obviously she's going to feel like, what about me? Yeah, like what? So anyway, she's waiting there, and then she sees like a group of widows going in through the door. They're all got white saris on. They're all like bent over, and so she's also wearing a white sari, incidentally. And she thought, I can just go in with them, I want to see Jagannath. So she gets in the line with these widows. She bends over, like merges in with them. She gets in. She's got past the guards, everything. She's in. Then they're doing some making some offering there. And then suddenly somebody sees her, she's there. This cry goes up, Gauri, Gauri, Gauri. And then the temple guards, they're coming forward with their sticks. And Anuradha, when she hears the cry, Gauri, oh gosh, she's come in. And so she knows the head panda. So she rushes over to the panda, who's like, he's like supervising this offering that's being made. So she runs over to him, she grabs hold of his feet, and she says, oh, she doesn't know, like, please don't beat her. And so without the beating, they gently escorted her out of the temple. But what was being offered, they threw it all out, the whole offering. Their consideration is like, a dog saw that, can't be offered to Jagannath anymore. That's their thinking like that, right? So anyway, she's thrown out of the temple, and then a couple of days later, she goes back to Navadvip with Anuradha, and Guru Maharaj, he's heard like the report, so he calls her to him. She's only been in the mission like 3 months or something, So she comes forward and she's trembling. Guru Maharaj is sitting with all these sannyasis and then he makes room and she has to sit with him. And he said, oh, I heard you had some adventure in Puri. She says, yes, Guru Maharaj. She's very shy. And he said, you thought you could go and have darshan of Jagannath? Yes, I wanted to see Jagannath. He said, don't you know that Namacharya Haridas Thakur, he never entered the temple of Jagannath? Rup and Sanatan, because of their connection with the Muslim government, they never entered the temple of Jagannath. In fact, when they would come to meet Mahaprabhu at midday, they could go through the area where the pandas lived, and at midday that's just like a shaded area, or they could go along the beachfront where the sand is so hot that it'll burn blisters in your feet. But their thinking is, if we go down the route where the pandas live, one of our shadows may touch them and they'll have to take bath before they can do their service to Jagannath. This is Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. And Guru Maharaj said, they didn't go, and so they went the beach route, and Mahaprabhu marked it. She said, but Mahaprabhu never, he's Krishna, he's Jagannath, he could have changed the rules, but he didn't change the rules. And they didn't go, but you think you should be able to go. Now, by now she's in floods of tears. And then Guru Maharaj said, and furthermore, if you'd have taken a beating from the guards there, maybe you'd have got Jagannath's mercy. She's like, oh, she's besides herself now. So then he said, they're very strict. They don't even allow the mridanga in there because it has cow skin on the drum. They don't allow it. He said there was one famous devotee. He used to travel all around India, and he used to wear his guru's sandals on his chest, paduka. And when he came to enter the Jagannath temple, they say, you can't come in here with those sandals on your chest. And he said, no, these are like the holy paduka of my Gurudev. He said, they may be holy to you, but they're just sandals to us. Like, take them off. Then he said, and Gandhi came there with his Harijans. Those who were considered to be untouchables, he adopted a group of them and he called them Harijan. Harijan means like God's men, the children of God, something like that, Hari's men. And Guru Maharaj said, of course, it's not so easy to be Harijan. Just saying you're Harijan doesn't make you Harijan. But anyway, so they came with the group and with Gandhi to the door. And of course, they recognize who Gandhi is. Yes, Bapuji, they call him Bapuji, means father. Bapuji, you can come in, but they'll have to stay outside. then Gandhi said, "Oh, if you won't let them in, I also won't come in." So he went, left there without having darshan of Jagannath. And they were staying at some hotel or something in Puri, and in the evening, his wife disappeared for a little while. And when she came back, Gandhi was there, a little indignant. "Where have you been?" "No, just went for a walk, you know." "You went to take darshan of Jagannath Dev, didn't you?" She says, "Yes, I cannot lie. I went to take darshan." "Oh, I didn't go, and I am your husband, but you went. What is this? Your husband doesn't go, but you can go." And he's chastising her in this way. Then Guru Maharaj said, "But we support her, because her relationship with Jagannath is eternal. His relationship with her is just for now." So, anyway, the point is that Guru Maharaj didn't try to change Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev, he didn't try to change the social system over there. But necessarily, because he didn't recognize, this kind of caste divisions, the society changed anyway. And for some people, they found that offensive. So even now, there are those who consider that our wearing of the sacred thread is just like foolishness, just like imitation. They don't believe it to be true. In fact, once when I was in Guru Maharaj's mott, he told me, "You can learn Vaishnav Sadachar from Krishna Sharan Prabhu." That means Aranya Maharaj. So then he will be your teacher. So, and he taught me many things. Guru Maharaj told him, you give some teaching to him. When I would take prasadam, he'd make me sit on my left hand while I'm taking prasadam, so that I don't touch anything with my left hand. That's considered barbarous. So, I learned how to tear the roti with the right hand and do everything and nothing with the left hand. But sometimes if I slipped up with anything, he would look in my face and say, "Therefore you are a Malecha." "Yes, Maharaj." Or he wasn't Maharaj, then "Yes, Prabhu." I would say, "Yes, Prabhu." And he was a strict master. One night I came in the evening time, because he was also the quartermaster, right? So if you needed anything, he was the person you had to go to. So one evening I went to him and I said, "Oh, it's getting really cold. Prabhu, could I have a blanket?" And he just said, "I'm not speaking now." Sometimes after sunset, he monobrata. He doesn't speak to anybody. And maybe he was just trying to mess with me. so I went back to my room and I just shivered all night, And I woke up early in the morning. There's a knock on my door, and I opened the door, and he was there with a blanket in his hand. Gave me the blanket and a kind of guilty look on his face. Okay, took the blanket. Anyway, so one day, in the hearing of Guru Maharaj, he chastised me. I don't even remember what it was. "Therefore you are Mlecha." And the Guru Maharaj heard it. And Guru Maharaj called him aside and he said, "No, Prabhu, you cannot call him a Malecha because I have accepted him as my disciple." After that, he never called me a Malecha again after that. Of course, it didn't make me not a Malecha.
Srila Govinda Maharaj said he went to save you.
Said?
He went to save Aranya Maharaj, Krishna Sharan.
Who went to save him?
Govinda Maharaj.
Oh.
Krishna Sharan was staying in another mott.
Uh-huh.
And then Govinda Maharaj wanted to bring him back to Guru Maharaj's mott. So then he told him that the sannyasi he was with, he says, does he ever let you onto the altar? Does he let you do seva there? And he said, no. And he says, that's because you weren't born in a Brahmin family. So, then Govinda Maharaj preached to him and brought him back to the monk. So Govinda Maharaj said he saved him and brought him back.
That's very beautiful. Anyway, I don't know, Devashis, if I really answered your question, but Srila Gurudev, once he said, if your meditation is very strong on your mantra, your Gayatri mantra, then your relationship with your guru will become also very strong. So at least we should try to do that every day if we can. Three, yeah, I mean, Gurudev said maybe not practical 3 times a day, because there is some restriction. You have to be clean. You have to be in a clean position for chanting the Gayatri mantra, and
Facing a certain way also.
well, that's also, but that's not really so important.
Yeah.
But and so it may not be always possible 3 times a day, unless you live in the temple. Maybe even in the temple it may not be possible. But if you're working or going here and there, it's not always possible. But at least in the morning after bath, and in the evening, if you after an evening bath, then in a clean place, in a quiet place, you can say your mantra, and as Gurudev said, whose meditation on that mantra is very strong, they'll become very strong in Krishna consciousness. So, as Guru Maharaj explains in Sri Guru and His Grace, up to the point of liberation, that Gayatri mantra can help us very, very much in our internal development. And also, it gives some qualification for worshipping the deity, for studying the scripture, making the sacrificial fire, all of those things. Some necessity for that. Actually, the real necessity for that, for the mantra, is for service. And if we even our chanting is in the mood of service, then we'll get the highest benefit from that. Okay, is that all right? Thank you all very much. Jai Guru Maharaj.
Sudarshan.
Thank you so much, Devashis Prabhu. It's such an honor to hear from you. And we will bring you back to the stage in a few minutes. We're going to prepare for our main event. So if you want to take a little water, we'll be back in 10 minutes or so. And we're going to start the main event of the night, or the main event of the day. That is our inauguration of Sri Govinda Mela with his holy ships. Look, all these beautiful sannyasis and acharyas here. Who is lucky to be here? Raise their hands. Woo! We have mantras we prepare for you too, but I'm gonna show them later, Maharaj. We prepare a special mantra for the inauguration, but when we start, we chant for you. So we're gonna put chairs up. Let's take a 10 minutes break, and we meet again here on the stage. Right. Thank you, Dandavats devotees. See you in a minute.